Australian Aviation Podcast, the official podcast of Australian Aviation, unpacking the latest insights, developments and issues impacting Australia's aviation sector.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Australian Aviation Podcast. I am Jake Nelson and we're here with our first episode, PT, post-Thorn. After the departure of Adam Thorn last week, we have found ourselves bereft, adrift, other things ending in ft. And we are in need of a new co-host. So we have thought that we should get a series of rotating guest Adams on to try and figure out who will be the next co-host of Australian Aviation. A game of planes, if you will. Which,
here we go.
Which I can say because Adam is not here to tell me that it's Plane of Thrones, which doesn't make sense. But introducing, who you may have heard, our first contestant on Who Wants to Be Adam Thorn is from Cyber Daily, David Hollingworth.
Can I come on down?
No, that's you're thinking of The Price is Right.
Oh,
yeah, no,
I'm doing great at this so far.
Yeah. Well,
I like planes though.
You do, well, that's a good start.
I fly in them frequently, not nearly frequently enough, but I do like them.
Well, you don't need to like planes to be on this show, but it does help.
You do make a good point. I've read some of the comments on your website.
Yeah. We try not to.
Yeah, cool.
But David, we've had you on the show a couple of weeks ago to talk about the Qantas hack.
Yep.
And now you're here as our first rotating guest, Adam. For our listeners who aren't familiar, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, mostly I write about cybersecurity these days. The wonderful thing about cybersecurity is it covers and touches everything you can possibly think of. So I write about the airline industry, and so does my companion, Daniel Croft, quite a lot, but mostly in terms of bad things, hackers doing bad things. We don't get to do all the cool stuff that you guys get to do.
Well, I mean, you're on the dark web all the time.
I mean, we do chat with criminals, play around with hackers, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of funky, but, so are planes. I like planes a lot. I like free trips on planes even more. And, hint, hint.
Yeah, it's that rarely works for us. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But, congratulations and welcome. You're the first contestant on Who Wants to Be Adam Thorn.
Wait, do I need to be Adam Thorn?
Well, no, I don't. I suppose not. There can only be one Adam Thorn.
This is true. So he left last week, right?
Yes.
And we need to go over this. He came to the office, I think it was his last or second last day, and expecting applause, expecting hugs, claps in the back. What did you greet him with, Jake? I believe you greeted him with commentary.
Yeah, I let him know what some of the more charming comments on our Facebook wall had been.
Are there any that are
departure.
safe for work?
I've been told if I don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, and these people evidently didn't listen.
Never heard that advice.
But there have been some nice comments out there. For Adam.
Oh, good. Let's hear them.
We've had a few from YouTube. People are nicer on YouTube, I find, than on Facebook.
That's a really weird statement.
It is. Now, there have been a few comments joking about Adam's pronunciation of epitome last week, which I corrected him on, but people have pointed out that it is epitome, not epitome, as he said.
Epitome's good. I like that.
But on YouTube, we've had at Segurum said, 2 massive bombshells. I had no idea about the passing of Chris Fenton. But if Adam does come to Perth, and if we can get the stars to align, it would be my pleasure to personally fly him over to Rottnest for his mandatory quacker selfie.
Well, so that's a great offer.
Yeah, Adam, if you want to be personally flown to Rottnest Island to get a selfie with a quacker, hit up at Segurum.
Wait, if I successfully win the Adam Thorn competition, can I maybe pretend to be Adam Thorn and get flown to a quacker meet on Rottnest Island?
Could do.
Outstanding. This is great.
At the Pink Pony, after more discussion on batteries on planes, which has been a surprisingly hot topic for the past couple of weeks in our comment section.
A hot topic in a bad way? Like boom batteries?
Yeah, partly.
Okay, cool, yeah.
But at the Pink Pony says, have a drink and a cheer from me. So
nice.
That's very nice of you. At the Pink Pony. At _Imperium says, farewell, Adam, you will be missed. Rest in peace, Chris. Heartbreaking news.
It was sad, yeah.
It was very sad. And we do thank you all for your well wishes and your condolences on the passing of Chris. It was very difficult for all of us when he passed a year or two ago. We've had some commentary on our Instagram from Annie Well, this was Annie Daly, I believe, was actually commenting on our LinkedIn. I'll just pull up her comment here because she too has been very, very nice. There's Adam Thorne's voice.
I can almost hear him.
Yeah,
coming in over
like
the airwaves.
He never left.
Yeah.
Well, Alvin Dayal says a sad day indeed. Which indeed it was when Adam left us. Annie Daly said something very, very nice, and I'm just looking for her comment because we've got a... Here we go. Annie Daly says, thanks, Adam, for all the insight, all the humour and thoughtful commentary. That's Antoinette Daly, who, by the way, congratulations to Annie Daly for being appointed as CEO of Aviation Aerospace Australia. We didn't touch on this the other week.
Wow, okay.
Annie, congratulations.
So she's coming into a new position there, is she?
She is, yeah. And congratulations to her longtime friend of Australian aviation. She's been at our Australian Aviation Summit and Awards quite a lot. Cool. And I believe she will be there again this year. So
excellent.
If you want to hear more from Annie Daly, that's where you can hear. And thank you for that lovely comment. We've had 2652 Denise over on Instagram say, although I'm new to Australian aviation, I'm sad to see you go. I wish you the best. Thank you, Denise. Angela Garvey from Navigating Aviation says, thank you, Adam, for launching me with our first podcast back in 2022 and before believing in navigating aviation and the work we're doing for aviation mental health support and awareness. I will always appreciate you greatly. Please keep in touch. So thank you for that, Angela.
That's an interesting one. So mental health is a big discussion in cybersecurity because cybersecurity is by its nature very, very stressful. You know, if you're what we call a network defender, you are just waiting for that one bad day where everything goes wrong and suddenly your brand is in the news.
Yeah.
I'd never really considered aviation to also be a harsh place for one's mental health.
It would be a high-stress job.
It makes perfect sense now. Yeah, because you're also just one bad day away from crashing.
And I mean, John Oliver, this is more of a problem over in the US, but air traffic control is a high stakes, high pressure job.
Yes, it absolutely is.
But John Oliver had an episode on the situation in the US, and so many people are burning out from air traffic control in the US and having to leave early because they just there's unreasonable pressure that's being placed on them with chronic understaffing and poor technology adoption and all of these issues. So it is important to keep an eye on your mental health if you work in this sector. The positive comment from our Facebook page.
Singular.
Yeah. Martin Scrimshaw says, all the best, Adam. I worked in an airport through COVID and you and your team helped me get through and deal with some really tough stuff. Now I've been at Melbourne for 8 years as their chaplain. All the best for the next chapter.
Oh, well.
So
officially blessed is Adam now.
Yeah. So we've had some lovely comments about the departure of Adam. Some less lovely ones, which I'm not going to read out.
Good, excellent. But we did hear them all in the office, and I was going to say this to some of the listeners. You people can be animals. Yeah.
Well, we have actually one more thing about Adam, which we found when he cleared out his desk.
Now this is going to come across really, really well for those just listening in. But if you're watching on video, you're experiencing a treat right now. I need to describe this for the audience. It is a work on canvas, acrylic, I believe.
It could be, yes, could be.
Probably painted by a small brush, possibly finger by the man himself, Adam Thorne. It is a wonderful rendition of a Qantas aircraft of some kind.
It's clearly a twin jet because you can only see two engines on there. It's not like an A380 or anything.
No.
Now whether
single deck of passengers and only about 20 windows aside, maybe.
Now it's we're trying to figure, is this what kind of now it's got a very, very small engine over here.
That's just distance. That's just the perspective is spot on. I mean, the man has an eye.
But you can tell it's a Qantas aircraft. Now the thing that we want to try to figure out, and I will throw this over to you as well, listeners. What kind of plane do you think this is? Because it could be it hasn't got a lot of windows on it, so it might be a smaller aircraft. Could be maybe an E190 or an A220 or something like that.
Yeah, are they meant to be birds and waves?
I think so.
Right,
I think so.
Cool.
I mean, we've got
the man's vision is too much for me.
It's not a 737 because
No.
a 737 would have that extra bit going down there, as you can see on some of our fleet here. So it could be something like an A220, but my understanding is that Qantas didn't have the A220 at the time that Adam painted this.
Was he a visionary?
It could have been. Could also be something like an E190. I'm not sure. But listen, if you listeners have any idea,
Watchers, the listeners will have no idea. Well, watchers, the viewers.
If you're listening, go to our YouTube and have a look at this painting. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know what kind of plane you would interpret this as being, because it's a fabulous rendition. I'm sure you'll all agree that Adam, I believe, painted at a Christmas party.
He got the lines straight.
Yes,
and for that, I'm impressed.
So we'll just leave this propped up over here, behind the rest of our fleet.
Straight
By the way,
to the pool room. That one.
It's going on the fridge.
Yeah.
Now we also have a new addition to our fleet here in the studio. By the way, we have this lovely Virgin 737-800 made by, I think, PPC is the company that made it. It's at 1/200 scale from the lovely people at Hobbyco, for which I paid actual real money.
Because you can stop adding to this collection at any time, apparently.
We could, but we won't. So yes, I think that's that's all of the.
Anyway, we're done with
that.
Adam. Forget that guy.
Yeah, Adam who?
So what's new in aviation?
Well, next week, next Thursday, the 14th, we of course have our Australian Aviation Summit and Awards. That will be at the Illumina in Sydney.
Lovely place.
Martin Place. Yes, we're having a lot of events now there.
We held our cybersecurity awards there earlier in the year.
Cybersecurity Awards, Defence Workforce.
Yes, Defence Workforce.
The Space Awards.
Were there, yes.
The Space Awards, yeah.
Yep.
And so the Summit and the Awards will both be held at Illumina. Now, I believe the awards are sold out, but you can still get tickets to the Australian Aviation Summit. And you will hear from, as Adam would say, the maestro, Alan Joyce, the former CEO of Qantas.
And it's his first public appearance, really, since stepping down from Qantas.
It is. And so it'll be really, really interesting to see what he has to say about his tenure at the head of Qantas, what he learned there, what other people can take away from his time in the top job, because he like him or hate him, and we've said this a few times.
He's a contentious
before.
figure, isn't he?
He is a contentious figure, but like him or hate him, he is probably a most influential figure for the aviation sector in the past 25 years.
Here in Australia?
Here in Australia,
yeah.
I mean, he was the one who, without Alan Joyce, there would be no Jetstar, for example. Qantas,
what a lack.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do.
No, a budget airline has its place. You are right.
You do need a low-cost carrier. And I think Jetstar has been, one of the most successful low-cost carriers in the world that's attached to a larger airline. Being obviously Qantas. And he's had a huge influence on the way that Qantas has developed and grown over these past few years. And so it will be very, very interesting to see what he has to say. Also appearing there, we'll have Annie Daly. Annie Daly will be there alongside Andrew Warrender and Rob Walker to give observations on the aviation landscape. We've got a fireside chat with Benjamin Ismail, the CEO of AirAsia X, to talk about...
Who is AirAsia X?
AirAsia X is a low cost carrier that is based in Southeast Asia. Does flights from Australia to I think places like Kuala Lumpur and things like that. But it is. He has led AirAsia X through, as the blurb says here, one of the most turbulent periods in aviation history. So you've got post-pandemic recovery, geopolitical shocks, supply chain disruption, changes in consumer expectations, and he will be basically the first cab off the rank to have a fireside chat of how he's guided this international long-haul low-cost carrier through one hell of a time. Yeah, a massive upheaval. Yeah. We've got a panel featuring speakers from Airbus and Aviation Australia on securing the aviation industry. We've got a big panel on talent shortages, because the talent crisis hasn't gone away yet, and so we do need to get as many people into the industry as possible. We've got Rob Sharp, the CEO of Air Services Australia. He will be there. Oh yes. Talking about the transformation program that Air Services is undergoing. Fascinating stuff that Air Services is doing, with digital digital towers, and FIMS for drones, the flight information management system. Don't quote me on that.
Yep.
But getting a registration system in place for drones, and of course the One Sky CMATS transformation, updating and overhauling the air traffic control software and systems to the modern era, and bringing civil and military aviation together in one cohesive whole across the entire country is what Air Services is doing.
I'm excited.
Yes, you should be. We've got a panel on propelling aviation towards a more sustainable future with guests from Virgin Australia and Stralis. We've got Captain Andrew Marshall from the Australian International Pilots Association in a panel on technology and the future of aviation alongside Dr. Graham Doig from the School of Aviation at UNSW. And then, of course, closing out is our keynote address from Alan Joyce, the maestro. So it's going to be a fantastic day at the Australian Aviation Summit.
I was going to say, it's a pretty impressive day. Yeah.
And then in the evening, we've got the Australian Aviation Awards.
Boeing's not a part of the summit at all?
Not this year, I believe.
What a surprise.
We've got Airbus. We've got
That's
Airbus
good.
this year.
Yeah, but not Boeing. Wonder why they're being quiet.
It could be that if you get Boeing and Airbus in the same room, they will start advancing down the room towards each other, snapping their fingers. So that's something we want to avoid. We don't want any spontaneous musical numbers erupting at the summit. That would be distracting. But in the evening, we've got the Australian Aviation Awards, as if the day wasn't big enough. We've got fantastic entrants across all of our categories. We will have a fantastic dinner there at Illumina. They do good food there at Illumina.
They put on a pretty damn good spread. The last time we were there, they did a wonderful, I don't know, this probably isn't your thing, but a lovely salmon sashimi with bits of caviar. Oh, yum. Yeah, it was good. And they good food, good drinks, a night of celebrating the best of the best in this industry. And of course, at the end of the Excellence Award, the shining pinnacle of achievement in the Australian aviation sector, second only to the Huey Award for Most Reliable Airline. Okay, yep.
And that will go to the highest scoring individual category winner. And if
Best and brightest.
And if you want to come along to the Australian Aviation Awards, you cannot do that because they are sold out. But there are still tickets available to the summit. It's going to be a fantastic day.
I mean, look, I know what our cyber events are like, our summit and awards, and at the risk of banging our own drum, Momentum puts on one hell of an event. So if you've not been to a summit before and you love aircraft, this is definitely one to go to. And if you can't make it to the awards, well, sorry, you can't make it to the awards. There's no more tickets. Maybe wait outside. You might see someone
down
famous.
In the metro station at Martin Place.
Yes.
Down inside the Martin Place metro station. Wait for people to come down out of the awards and see.
Actually, maybe don't do that.
No,
look, with the last Defence Award thing we went to, we had protesters, and that was a whole thing. And maybe don't get people to linger around entrances and exits.
Yeah, I mean, for one thing, people do need to still take the train.
They do. That's a good point. Good point. Yep.
Well, look, we should probably get into the news at some point, but first let's take a quick break, and we will be right back with the news of the week.
See you shortly.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to the Australian Aviation Podcast, our first episode without the best of British himself, Adam Thorne, but we do have our first rotating guest, Adam, here, David Hollingworth of Cyber Daily.
Hello.
So to start with, one of the biggest stories of the week, of the past couple of weeks, has been the rebranding of Skytrans. Now, Skytrans is a regional carrier based up in Queensland, and they were a year or two ago bought by Avia Solutions Group.
They're a passenger outfit or
so Skytrans is passenger. It's mainly passenger, and they have done sort of regular transport across the sort of far north Queensland mostly for quite some time, a few decades. And they were purchased by, as a quick recap, Avia Solutions Group last year, who have been adding wet leasing, or ACMI.
What is wet leasing? I know this. Everybody listening to this knows what wet leasing is. I have no idea, and I hear the name a lot.
So wet leasing, and this doubles as a handy explanation for any of our listeners who may just be tuning in and don't know what it is. But wet leasing is when one airline will hire not just the plane, but the crew, the maintenance, the insurance, all of the personnel, lock, stock, and barrel from another airline. So basically, airline A operates the entire flight on behalf of airline B.
Yeah.
So you see this a fair bit. I mean, currently the Virgin Australia flights to Doha, they are sold and marketed as Virgin Australia flights. They are operated by Qatar Airways planes and crew.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. I know what it is.
You know,
now.
one of the bigger wet leasing operations in Australia is done by Alliance on behalf of QantasLink. So if you're hopping on an Embraer E190 that is being flown by QantasLink, chances are it's actually being flown by Alliance,
right?
Because Qantas is paying Alliance to fly planes for it.
Yeah.
That are Alliance planes with Alliance crews, but they are Qantas branded flights.
Right.
And this differs from a dry lease. A dry lease is where you hire only the plane.
But with the wet lease, you get the wet stuff like the people and the drinks cart.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and there's like wet leasing that Qantas is doing. Finnair is wet leasing a few planes to Qantas for flights to, I think, Singapore, which has been somewhat a contentious thing that they're doing. But a few A330s, I believe. So that's what wet leasing is.
Wet leasing explained. Excellent.
Same thing as ACMI, which is aircraft crew maintenance insurance. It's two terms for the same thing, essentially. So Skytrans was purchased by Avia Solutions Group, which is a big name in ACMI. I think it's one of, if not the largest ACMI provider in the world. And they wanted to get in on the Australian market and expand Skytrans's operations into ACMI and wet leasing with bigger planes.
Yeah.
So not just the propeller planes and the turboprops that Skytrans has been using, but A319s, which are like the baby brother of the A320.
Yeah. So why the move to bigger craft?
So it's for the wet leasing, basically.
Yeah.
So Skytrans is not flying its A319s for passenger services under its own flag.
Yeah.
It is hiring them out for charter, for FIFO, for wet leasing. So it's kind of if you are an airline who needs an A319 to fill some capacity or to try a new route or to plug a gap in your roster for a while, you can go to what was Skytrans, and I'll get to that in a moment, and say, can we hire one of your A319s?
Gotcha.
And it's been doing, some charter work and stuff. It's got two A319s now in the country. Now, Skytrans has rebranded to SmartLynx Australia. SmartLynx is a brand that Avia uses in other markets. So I think there's SmartLynx over in Europe. There's SmartLynx Thai.
And is Avia they're a global operation?
Yeah, Avia is the umbrella company that owns all these, because they operate under a bunch of different brands. And SmartLynx Australia is the new branding for Skytrans. So Skytrans regular passenger flights will now operate under SmartLynx. And the wet leasing will also operate under SmartLynx.
Yeah.
And this is being done essentially to kind of unify operations under an Avia brand.
That makes sense.
Basically. So
what does it mean for passengers, though? Anything?
So for passengers, essentially what it means is instead of booking a ticket with Skytrans, it will be a ticket with SmartLynx. That's what it's going to be called now.
But the service itself doesn't change much.
As far as I'm aware, SmartLynx is still flying all of, or at least most of, the same routes. And SmartLynx is also taking over the Lord Howe Island service from Qantas. So they're all being rebranded. What Gitas Gomeliauskas said, who is the CEO of SmartLynx Australia. He says, quote, "This new brand marks a new stage for the business, one that bridges the quality transportation services Skytrans is known for locally and the new line of business, ACMI, that Avia Solutions Group has perfected." He says, "Our fleet size fluctuates throughout the year based on seasonal demand and operational requirements, but we plan to expand our total fleet by the end of 2025 to provide greater operational flexibility and enhanced solutions for our clients. In the long term, we're oriented towards ambitious growth, which includes increasing the number of aircraft, expanding the team, and adding new markets and business directions." And what's also going to happen is that the Skytrans planes are going to be repainted. So everything that is in a Skytrans livery now is getting a new lick of paint, but it's not going to have SmartLynx branding put on it.
Okay.
All of the planes are going to be painted neutral white.
What? No heraldry or
no heraldry
whatsoever?
No livery, no branding on the side, no nothing on the tail.
Just big numbers.
Just plain white.
But surely it's going to be like numbers.
I mean, the registration number will still be on the side of the plane, but it will be a white label sort of thing. And basically, the idea behind this is if all the planes are painted white, then if SmartLynx needs to use one of the planes that it might use for regular passenger transport to do some wet leasing work or to do some charter work, it will not have a big Skytrans brand slapped across the side.
You know how movies, like you see people have like those like magnetic signs they put in the side of a van when you're doing a con job or something. You just put a giant magnetic thing on the plane and hope it doesn't fly off at 300 miles per hour.
Yeah, I'm not sure how magnetic planes are, though. I think they're mainly like aluminium and stuff like that. Like,
you put a magnet on the inside and a magnet on the outside.
Yeah, for people who might know, how magnetic are planes? Comment on this video.
Next time I'm flying, I'll take a magnet and I'll put it on the outside. I'm sure that won't be a bad thing at all.
Yes, so they're basically going to be, all of the planes are going to go white. So the Skytrans livery is going to gradually disappear. Now they're not going to do this all at once. It's sort of when a plane goes in for maintenance. That's when they'll touch up the paint. But what he's saying is, you know, and he said this. He told this exclusively to us, Gamaliauskas. He said, it'll be done gradually. It'll be to adhere to the philosophy of the group as a capacity provider. So typically the aircraft that Avia operates will just be a neutral white, unless there's a potential customer with a longer contract who wants some brand recognition. So if you have a white plane, you know, if you're hiring one of these A319s for an extended period of time and
then you can slap your livery on it. Yeah.
You can slap your livery on it, yeah.
I tell you what, though, as a passenger, I can imagine, like, you know, getting out to the tarmac, because I imagine a lot of these lines run with passengers going onto the tarmac and going up the air stairs.
Yeah.
And there's the aircraft, and it's just numbers on it. I'd feel a little nervous.
Yeah, well, it's...
Like, is this an off-brand plane? Does this thing fly? Where'd you get this?
It's sort of he said to us that they're not terribly concerned with like the loss of brand recognition on the side of the planes, because what he said was, you know, if you're a good service provider, let them know. From quality perspective, from service perspective, we want to be known for reliability, hospitality, safety on board. We want to create our impression on the brand with all of this, not with a sticker on the side of an aircraft.
I mean, look, it makes sense. And you know, you only see the aircraft for that, like, you know, few minutes while you're boarding. The rest of the time, what matters is the service inside the cabin. That is true.
Yeah. So that's basically what he said. I mean, what do you think if you were looking to board a plane as a you know, a non-av geek,
yes,
and you saw, you know, just on the side of the plane as you're going up the air stairs, just nothing, would you feel nervous?
I think it would be off-putting. It's just something that I'm so used to. You know, you're familiar with the flying kangaroo and all these other logos from around the world. You know, I've traveled on Emirates and Qatar and what have you.
I love what have you.
I love what have you. What have you? They're great.
Yeah, they're
but yet,
classes.
not seeing something, it would. All I'll say is it would give me pause. I'd go. First, I'd like, is this the right aircraft?
Yeah.
Am I boarding the right gate? Because this looks like it should be flying people to Guantanamo. It's an unmarked aircraft.
Yeah.
It's just, the more I think about it, the more I'm making myself worry about it. Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah, it is strange. And you know, we shall have to see how it shakes out, because it seemed to me, and you know, that's why I put the question to him. You know, how will people know that SmartLynx? One, you know, major way that people know that SmartLynx Australia would exist, or that, you know, Qantas would exist, or Virgin, or Bonza, or whatever,
is seeing the aircraft,
is seeing the thing on the side of the aircraft.
Yeah.
And so if you don't, but they're going to be doing more advertising around the rebrand.
And I can't imagine that there's a lot of other services up there doing what they do, so it's almost like they don't need to compete in that branding space.
Yeah. So it is going to be an interesting one, and we'll sort of watch to see that happens. But you know, also a bit of a sad day for people who know and love Skytrans, because
it's a brand I know, even though I've never flown it.
Yeah, and you know, it's a brand which I think has a pretty good name.
Yep.
You know, people love the Skytrans name, and so that's going. And maybe SmartLynx Australia will get that same love and recognition eventually, but you know, as we've seen from a certain social media website that used to have a bird for a logo, branding is something that takes a while to build up.
Yeah.
And if you rebrand, you've got to be really careful about it, and what associations people gain with the new brand.
Yeah.
Moving on. we've had some updates. Speaking of regional aviation, we've had some updates on the Rex situation. Now, this was reported, I think, originally in the Oz, but apparently the federal government...
is Rex dead or not?
It's still flying.
Okay, cool.
It's still flying.
Yeah.
And, it's still going through the voluntary administration process. And the government hasn't said, anything different to when it would... the government basically is still kind of saying that it will be a buyer of last resort. It hasn't changed its tune there. But apparently sources familiar with the discussions, according to the Oz, said that the Office of the Transport Minister had kind of lobbied Virgin or tried to woo Virgin into buying Rex.
Okay.
But Virgin sort of knocked it back. Now, Virgin was at the time preparing for its IPO, which happened in June.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the Oz's sources, Virgin was turned off by, and this has been a sticking point for a while, Rex's fleet.
What's the problem with Rex's fleet?
The problem with Rex's fleet is that it came over on the first fleet.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a bit old. Yeah, what are they flying?
They're flying. So Rex, once it got rid of its 737-800s. By the way, stay tuned because there might be a Rex 737-800 turning up in an unexpected place very soon.
Okay,
keep an eye on that. But once Rex got rid of its 737-800 fleet, which it was using to do the capital city routes, it went back to its previous fleet, which was all Saab 340Ds, which is this regional turboprop airplane airplane they've been operating for donkey's years. Back still when it was Kendall and Hazleton, back when it was still under Ansett. And these planes are like 30 years old. And they are not made anymore. Nobody is making the Saabs anymore. You can't get parts for the Saabs.
I was going to say, who's making the parts if they're not making the planes?
Yeah,
okay.
And so, I think like half of Rex's Saab fleet is out of action because they need parts.
They're cannibalizing parts from that fleet. Yeah,
so this is a problem that's going to get worse and worse as the fleet
Russian
gets
Air Force
older.
operational techniques. Yes, exactly.
Something like that, yeah. And so Virgin was turned off reportedly by the need to take on this Saab fleet.
this aging, unequipped fleet. Yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah.
And it would have been a real headache for them financially. One can imagine.
Yeah.
Because Virgin does operate regional services. They operate VARA, which is their Virgin Australia Regional Airlines, and that's mainly out west. And that's getting a fleet overhaul because it's a lot of VARA is old Fokkers. And they're replacing those old Fokkers with new Embraer.
New Fokkers?
With new Embraers.
Oh, okay, leaving the old Fokkers behind.
Yeah. So they're replacing their old Fokkers with newer planes. And they're mainly out west. But, buying Rex might have let Virgin kind of bolt on a brand new network already well established back east, and that's probably not an unappealing proposition. Expand your regional services, take on Qantas Link.
I mean, on paper it makes perfect sense.
On paper it makes
but you look at the maintenance requirements,
but the planes are the problem.
Yeah,
and it's so hard to get.
You're taking on risk.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's so hard to get new planes to. Still, the supply chain is so backlogs are
is it really?
Stretching for ages. Yeah. The planes are very, very hard to come by. I mean, Qantas is buying sort of midlife Q400s.
Yep.
But it's sort of, if you're looking to buy like passenger turboprop planes, really your options are Bombardier, de Havilland. The Dash 8s.
Dash 8s. Good old Dash 8s.
Good old Dash 8s. Which Qantas has now converted its entire turboprop fleet to the Dash 8 Q400, or may still be in the process. Or we've got ATRs, which is another brand. I think Air New Zealand mainly uses ATRs, but it's hard to get new planes. And Qantas, the overhaul of its Q400 fleet, they've been buying sort of midlife planes, so gently used Q400 from somewhere else.
flew an old lady to church on Sundays.
Yeah, exactly. And they're looking to as well replace some of QantasLink's old Fokkers with midlife E190 E1s from Embraer. And so getting new planes is hard, and getting parts for the Saabs is hard. And as the Saabs get older and older and older, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And so I think Virgin probably, especially gearing up for the IPO, didn't want to take on that risk.
Yeah. Look, I can't blame them. Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty around that. Yeah, the routes are great, the aircraft less so, and the more you use them, the more they're going to fall apart, the more those parts are going to be harder to get hold of, and eventually you're going to have a fleet you can't do anything with. Exactly.
Yeah. And so, it's funny, we were saying, when Rex went into administration last year, they'd probably we thought they'd have an easier time of it than Bonza, because Bonza's problem was that it had no planes. Its planes were yanked out from underneath it.
Yeah.
And once it's
because that was a wet leasing arrangement, wasn't it?
No.
So, okay, cool. I thought
it wasn't wet leasing. I mean, they were wet leasing a couple of planes from Flair, which was their sister airline in Canada. Most of their planes were being just regular leased, not from another airline, but from a company that leases planes. Right. And that lessor, which was connected to their financier, 777 Partners, Schonke Brothers Incorporated, I believe. But there was a whole lot of, murkiness and mess behind the scenes. And so those planes got yanked out from under them. And so what you had was an airline with no planes, which is no airline at all. Whereas Rex has planes. It has quite a few planes, but nobody wants the planes because they're so old and they're so hard to take care of.
How old are those hulls?
Like 30 years.
Yeah, 30
they're
years.
30-year-old planes.
Yeah.
And so they're not...
They're 20th century planes. Oh, when you put it that way,
Yeah, they're not getting any younger.
No, they're not. No.
And so it's going to be interesting to see what comes of Rex. Rex probably still will survive in some way or another because, again, the government has said...
The plan is that the government will buy them out if it has to.
Or will at least look into buying it out if it has to. And the government does have the final say, essentially, over what happens to Rex, because the government is the largest holder of Rex's debt after it bought all that debt from PAG. And so it's the largest creditor. It has most of the say of what happens in terms of the administration. But... the government probably will not let Rex die. It has been adamant that it will not let Rex die. So Rex will probably still keep flying, but what form that takes is an open question.
Some kind of zombie airline just shuffling along, bits falling off.
Yeah, and we've said time and again on this show, whoever takes over Rex is going to have to do something about the fleet.
They're going to have to invest.
They're going to have to.
You're already buying an airline, right? And then you've got to buy planes to go with the airline. Who's going to want to do that?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, look, we're going to go for one more quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more of the week's news. All right, welcome back. This is the Australian Aviation Podcast. Jake Nelson here with David Hollingworth of Cyber Daily, our rotating guest, Adam, for the week.
G'day.
I noticed that you haven't rotated yet, by the way. There we go. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can't see David rotating right now because I'm talking, and the camera only focuses on you when you're speaking. So
maybe they'll do some magic in editing.
I promise you, David did rotate.
I sat on it and I rotated.
And he did a very good job as well. Speaking of airlines with uncertain futures and business models, they're back. Koala Airlines.
I've heard you talking about Koala in the office.
Mm-hmm. So Koala Airlines has told the Australian Financial Review, or at least they've been quoted in the Australian Financial Review, the CEO Bill Astling, saying that it's looking to launch operations, domestic services, late next year.
Does it have planes?
No.
Oh.
It also...
I know where to find some old ones.
Yeah, no, there's plenty. Rex has got plenty of them, but they'll be... all of the pictures on their site are 737 MAX 8s, which, good luck. Can't get one of those for love nor money. So Koala, Bill Astling has said... we've been trying to fly underneath the radar. The reason that we haven't said a whole lot about our business model is we don't want our competitors to find out and get a 12-month
it's a four-dimensional chess move. Yeah, gotcha.
He said, quote, "We're not trying to be Qantas or Virgin. Our model is fundamentally different, and that's why we've attracted the backing we have not naming the backers. We've deliberately kept a low profile, not because we're stalling, but because we're building something with a long-term sustainable foundation. We've learned from the past, both ours and the industry's, and we're taking a disciplined, strategic approach. We're on track to start operations late next year, but we're not in the business of giving our competitors a 12-month head start. Bill, mate, we've said, look, I've said it, and we've said it on this podcast a few times. We'll believe it when we see it.
So how long has Koala been around for?
Koala was founded in 2018.
Has it ever had any planes at that point in time?
To my knowledge, no. What it also does not appear to have, and please, Bill, or anyone connected to Koala, we would love to be corrected if we're wrong. What it also does not appear to have is a valid air operator certificate, which is what you need from CASA to be able to fly your planes. If
no
you
planes,
have them.
no license to fly.
Exactly.
Okay, look, small hurdles I'm sure they can get over.
One of the reasons that Bonza ran into trouble initially was because it took so long for CASA to issue their AOC. Now, air operator certificate, not Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes.
It took so long for them to get their AOC, and they ran into trouble in December 2023 because they were planning to launch operations from the Gold Coast with their wet leased planes from Flair.
Yeah.
But they had to cancel a bunch of those and set everything back because CASA didn't give them the AOC variation to be able to fly those planes in time. And so the AOC is really, really important. And, it was the most valuable thing that Bonza had by the end because it didn't have any planes. And it's one of the reasons why, harking back to an earlier story, Avia Solutions Group came in and bought Skytrans. They wanted Skytrans' AOC.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
AOC.
I see. You're not just buying the aircraft, you're not just buying the routes, you're not just buying the infrastructure, you're buying the license.
Yes.
Right.
And so Rex has an AOC.
Yeah.
And, if you bought Rex, you would get the AOC. You would have to apply to CASA to sort of
renew it, I guess.
To renew it, to vary it, to add new planes or new sort of operation stuff. But you have the AOC, that's the hardest part, right? They don't have an AOC, at least as far as I can tell. I've searched for the AOC that they claim on their website to have, casa.aoc.0317. There is no. And again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but in the web search of the CASA register, that AOC does not exist. Okay, I've searched for Koala Airlines. I've searched for Desert Air Safaris, which is the company that they bought in 2019. I've searched for all of these things. They don't have. I've found no AOC attached to Koala Airlines. Okay, we've got. Now, there is an entry, casa.138awk.0317, but that's registered to the state of Western Australia, not Koala Airlines. Is that yours, Koala? I don't know. Did you buy that off the state of Western Australia? I don't know.
Can you get an AOC without having any active aircraft? Is it just purely an operating license?
I think you need an AOC before you can start
so one comes before the other.
Yeah, cool. I believe that's the case.
Yep.
And so Koala is saying we're going to launch late next year. We're going to be flying in late 2026. We're going to take on Qantas and Virgin, but they're doing it without any planes and without any licenses to fly those planes, at least as far as we can tell.
Let me just recap. They're giving themselves an 18-month deadline in which they'll get their AOC that they already have that don't appear to have.
Correct us if we're wrong. Please correct us if we're wrong. If you have your AOC, Bill, or anyone from Koala, please show us the AOC. We really want to see it.
They will acquire aircraft from somewhere.
Yes.
They will acquire pilots and crew.
Yeah.
They will acquire all the infrastructure to support said pilots, all in the next 18 months. That seems a short time frame to get an airline up and running.
It does.
And I say that as a purely civilian in these matters. I don't know, but that seems really short.
Yeah.
Especially when they've had so many years to do it.
And we would love to be proven wrong. We would really, really dearly love to be proven wrong. We want more competition in Australia's aviation sector. We would love to see more competition in Australia aviation. We would love Koala Airlines planes to be crisscrossing Australia's skies, helping bring down airfares, adding more capacity, taking people places.
I can see it now, the flying koala.
Yeah, and we want all of these things to happen. We would love to see Koala Airlines get off the ground by the end of 2026. But I will come back to what I said at the start. We'll believe it when we see it.
Yeah. Yeah, look, me too, actually, now thinking about it. That's 18 months to do all that.
18 months, give or take.
Yeah.
It's not a large amount of time. So whatever these mysterious plans are that Koala Airlines has...
He better be way more advanced than they look to be at this point in time.
Yeah. Speaking of flying animals, we've had an update on Virgin's plans to allow pets in the cabin.
Kitties!
And dogs. We've had an update. This was at the Kappa conference in Cairns. Now, we were not there, but there's been reports from that. Virgin CEO Dave Emerson has basically said that one of, if not the last, kind of regulatory loophole has been cleared, or the last hurdle has been cleared, which was that, and this is kind of an odd one. According to Food Standards Australia and New Zealand, who is like the food regulator, food standards regulator, as would be implied by the name. They administer the Food Standards Code. Planes are considered restaurants.
I mean, they have all the hallmarks of a restaurant.
Yeah.
You sit down, you served meals while you sit down, you can order drinks and other food, you go to the bathroom, a tray is put in front of you, it just happens to be in the air.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And because of this, the Food Standards Code does not allow pets in restaurants.
Which makes perfect sense.
And so they had to get a sort of an exemption or close up that loophole to allow the pets to fly.
Yep.
And so that has been cleared. They are past that hurdle. They're looking forward, says Emerson, to launching the pets on planes before the end of the year. Now, the ultimate decision on any given flight as to whether pets will be allowed will be left to the pilot. They'll only be on domestic flights, so no international flights.
Oh, gee, I was just like yappy dog on a 24-hour flight to the UK would kill me. Actually, no, I'd kill the dog.
Especially if it was a 24-hour flight, because that's a very long to be flying
very
to the
long,
UK.
yes.
It's longer than it would take to fly to the UK.
How long does it take to the UK now? I default at 24 because that's what has been most of my life.
It depends on where you're flying from. I mean, the one single flight is not going to be 24 hours.
No, it's about 20 hours, isn't it?
It's something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what Project Sunrise is for. But, you've got to stop over in Dubai or Singapore or Doha or wherever.
So is this for service animals or just
pets? So service animals are sort of already allowed, I believe.
I was assuming so.
Yeah. So the pets are going to have to be a small dog or cat that will fit in...
Containerized. You need to containerize your pet.
Pet and carry together cannot weigh more than 8 kilograms. Small dog or cat must be at least 8 weeks of age, fits within a Virgin Australia approved soft-sided pet carrier. They will be allowed in 2 designated rows on the same select flights. They'll be placed under the seat in front while still allowing enough room and ventilation. Pets will not be allowed to leave the carrier on the plane or in the airport, except when going through security or using designated animal relief areas.
Yep.
And they will.
I can't wait for my first domestic flight where a cat takes a big old crap and the whole cabin just thinks of it.
Well, see, this is what people have been saying, and there's been some commentary around this, like Qantas and Jetstar, which same thing, but Qantas and Jetstar, Qantas Group has basically been saying no, we're not going to allow pets in cabins. But people have been saying, what if an animal urinates or defecates on a flight? What if the animal starts barking all the way through the flight, as you said, and you have to deal with a barking...
Well, I mean, that's just a baby on a flight anyway. I mean,
you have to deal with a barking dog or even more strange, a barking cat for your whole trip. And another thing that's been brought up is, pet allergies. Because, I have a friend who said that, he and his wife won't be flying Virgin, sort of, if this kind of goes into effect more broadly.
If you've got a very severe cat allergy or whatever, you don't want to be stuck in a sealed metal tube
with recirculating air. Because if you don't want to be risking anaphylactic shock because someone has brought their cat on holiday with them. Another thing is safety concerns. It's all on good to have the pet in the carrier under the seat in front, but
in case of emergency, you're not meant to gather your luggage, right?
In the case of an emergency, you have to leave everything behind on the plane. And how many people are going to want to leave Mr. Fluffy on the plane while it's actively bursting into flames around
Where
them?
is the demand for this? Like, is there are there petitions?
Apparently there was demand.
Is there a Facebook group, a GoFundMe or something?
There was a survey that Virgin took that showed support for this. There was actually I saw in the SMH's column 8 actually. Lynn Sinton of Killarney Heights said, I wish Virgin Airlines well with their decision to allow small pets on their planes, but I would not want to be the first passenger lunging for the emergency exit with a miniature pinscher clamped to each foot. It's like, how will airlines, convince passengers who are panicking to leave their dog or their cat to burn alive if a plane or to go down with a plane in the water. It's a minefield. I'll be interested to see how they make this work, because they're looking to make this work. But I'm not a pet guy.
I'm a pet guy, but the last thing I want to do is travel with any pet.
Yeah, where's Soot, by the way? Soot's up there. Soot still standing vigil.
Yeah.
I'll bring him down. He's so lonely now that Adam's left. He's just staring.
Obviously,
now at
the perfect size to take on an airline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And no risk of allergies, no risk of any accidents mid-flight. So if you want to take your stuff down,
that's a pet I could trust on a flight.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and we'll have to see how it all works out for them again.
Well, I wish Virgin luck, and I wish everybody flying with Virgin luck as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
Look, I think on that note, we are just about out of time.
So. I've enjoyed my time as Adam Thorne. Thank
you. Yes, I have. I've also enjoyed your time as Adam Thorne. A couple of quick shout-outs. Congratulations to Newcastle Airport for opening the new terminal to arriving passengers.
Oh, bravo.
There'll be a bit more of an in-depth look at that, a Q&A with Link Horton, the CEO, in the upcoming issue of Australian Aviation magazine. So congratulations to that. Shout-out as well to Gilmore Space.
They got off the ground.
They got off the ground. Not for long, but they got off the ground.
Hey, look, space is hard, as XKCD says.
Yes.
And sure, Gilmore will not be going to space today, but they got that little bit closer by about 15 feet, I imagine.
Yeah, and so it's good. It's good news for them. Yeah, back to the drawing board, obviously, but at least it did not explode over the Caribbean, disrupting flights for several hours and raining down debris on endangered wildlife habitats.
Good old Elon.
Congratulations to Hobart Airport for cutting the ribbon on a $130 million runway upgrade, which will allow it to handle larger aircraft like the 787 and the A350.
That's good. That's good. I rather like Hobart Airport.
Yeah, it's. I've never been, but it's quite nice, and they're upgrading their terminal too to increase the passenger capacity there. And our thoughts as well go out to the friends and family of an elderly couple whose plane has been missing over Bass Strait for a few days.
Yes.
We wish the searchers all the best of luck in finding it, because that is terrifying news for anyone who knew that couple.
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
Hopefully the news will be good.
Yeah.
But we are out of time, so thank you to our first rotating guest, Adam, David Hollingworth of Cyber Daily. We'll let you go back to the dark web now.
Thank you, Jake. It was a pleasure.
That is all from us for this week. We'll be back, hopefully, with a new guest, Adam, next week. But for now, from me and David, goodbye.
Goodbye.